Hi everyone, today we'll take a look at pivot tables. I use pivot tables a lot and I think it's a great Excel tool. Most of you are familiar with pivot tables, so I'll quickly go over some features. If you're watching on YouTube, the content of this video is in the description box below, so you can click on the section that interests you. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button and share this video. A pivot table is easy to create and it helps you to calculate, summarize and analyze data. The first step is to ensure that your data is clean. The data must have a single row heading and no empty rows or columns. To make it easy to update the pivot table with new data, click anywhere in the data and convert it into a table. Ctrl T. If you are yet to see my video on Excel tables, the link is in the description box below. Next, you insert a pivot table. You can do this from the Design tab, which pops up when you create a table. It's right here, Summarize with Pivot Table. Or you go to the Insert tab and click on Pivot Table. Excel automatically picks the entire table, and then you choose where you want the pivot table reports to be placed. Select New Worksheet to place the pivot table in a new worksheet or existing worksheet, and then select the cell where you want it. Let's go with a new worksheet. A pivot table fields pane pops up, and the column headers referred to as fields are listed in this area. You can change the layout here. You can drag out, expand, and change as you wish. Now, if you close this pivot table fields list, you can bring it back with the right mouse click in the pivot table. Now, best practice is to name your pivot table. To do that, go to the Analyze tab under Pivot Table Name, change name. The current name is displayed here. Now let's change it to Sales Pivot. Now let's create a report showing the total sales by customers. To add a field to the pivot table, you drag the field to the appropriate spot. Let's drag customers to rows and sales to values. Excel summarizes and sums the sales value as shown on the column header. If you want to get the breakdown of what was summarized, Excel allows you to drill down. All you have to do is just double click on the value and a new table will be generated on a new worksheet. There you go. Now let's get back to our report. You can change the function with the right mouse click, select Summarize Value By, and change to the desired function. For example, let's go with average. Check out the column header. Ctrl Z to undo that. Also, you can change the header or any text in the pivot table. Just make sure it's not identical to the names and the fields pane. Let's change this to sales with a $sign. Click Enter. You can also show the numbers as a percentage. Right click, select Show Values As. Let's go with percentage of total. And let's change the name to percentage sales. Now, the cool thing about the value field is that you can duplicate the fields. You can duplicate the field dragged into this area. If we want to see the absolute values for sales, I'll just drag in sales again into this area. Let's rearrange and edit the name. There you go. Now, to format these numbers, right click on any value and select Number Format. Check the 1000 separator and click OK. There you go. To sort the numbers, right click and select the sort options. Other options are available here. Let's sort largest to smallest so we can know who the top customers are. There you go. If you want to display the top 5 customers, for example, you have to filter the values right here. Just click on the arrow, go to Value Filters and select Top 10. This is flexible and you can edit based on your requirement. It can be top 10, top 20. You can also select the bottom customers as well. Let's take a look at the top 5 customers. Now let's include products and sales agents in the analysis. Drag products to rows and sales agents to columns. Take a look at the layout. Now we have subtotals. Let's go to the Design tab to make adjustments. You can change the style of the table here. You can turn subtotals and grand totals on or off here. You can also do this with a right mouse click. Let me show you quickly. Right click on the subtotal and uncheck subtotal. There you go. Ctrl Z to undo that. Let's do the same for grand total. Right click on the grand total and select remove grand total. There you go. Ctrl Z to undo. So back to the Design tab. You can change the layout of the pivot table here. The compact form is the default layout. All the fields in the rows category remain in a single column. For the outline form, you see that products have moved to another column and the subtotals are right above the group. For the tabular form, which is very similar to the outline form, subtotals are below the group. The tabular form is the mostly used form. You can repeat item labels instead of having blanks. In the Analyze tab, you can collapse or expand to view details right here. Or you click the icon next to the row label. Let's analyze sales by date. Drag date to rows. Depending on the version of Excel you are using, Excel will automatically group the date. If you don't like this option, you can turn it off under Excel options. The shortcut for that is Alt-F-T. Click on Data. Check this box, Disable Automatic Grouping of Date Time in Pivot Tables. I'll leave this as is. Cancel. If you don't want the grouping, you can simply press Ctrl Z. This will undo the grouping Excel has done. So now we have a date list which you can group yourself. To group the date, right click, select group. You can group by year, month, quarters. You can make adjustments to the starting and ending date depending on your financial year. Let's go with year and month. Press OK. Take a look at the fields list. The newly created groups have been added. When you ungroup the date, it will disappear. Let's drag sales value to values. Format that. You can drag years to columns to see a comparative analysis by month. You can also move it to the filters area and filter as required. You can select a year or multiple years. The interesting thing about the filters area is that you can also use it to create multiple pivot tables. I'll demonstrate that shortly. Let's drag sales agent to the filters area, products to rows, and sales value to values. To create multiple pivot tables from the filters area, go to the Analyze tab. Under Pivot Table options, you see that Show Filter Pages is activated. If there's no field under Filters, this will not be active. You can see that it's grayed out. Now click on it. If you have more than one field under the Filters area, you have the option of creating for each of them. Click OK. Check this out. Now I have 3 tabs with pivot tables for each agent. Note that you can also create multiple pivot tables by highlighting the entire table, and you just simply copy and paste. If your table is longer, go to the Analyze tab. Under Actions, select Entire Table. and you just simply copy and paste. One thing you should note is that these pivot tables will share the same cache. Excel makes a copy of your source data and stores it in its memory. That's what is called a pivot cache. Now, when you paste a pivot table, best practice is to put them on separate pages. It's not a good idea to place them side by side because you might have to expand it when you add new information. Okay, it's a wrap for today. Thanks so much for joining me. In the next videos, we'll discuss slicers, calculated fields, and so much more on pivot tables. So just stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.